High above the city, on a tall column, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. The statue was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. His eyes were two bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. Everyone admired him. One day, a little swallow flew over the city. His friends had already gone to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he stayed behind for he had fallen in love with a beautiful reed. When he arrived in the city, he found a good place to rest between the feet of the Happy Prince's statue. As he was preparing to sleep, a drop of water fell on him. Looking up, he saw that the prince was weeping. The statue told the swallow of all the misery he saw from his high perch. The swallow felt sympathy and became the prince's messenger. The next day, the prince asked the swallow to pluck out the ruby from his sword and take it to a poor seamstress whose son was ill. The swallow did as he was told, making the seamstress very happy. The following night, the prince asked the swallow to take one of his sapphire eyes to help a young playwright in a cold attic. Though it was hard, the swallow complied. On the third day, the prince asked the swallow to take his other sapphire eye to a little match girl shivering in the cold. Now blind, the prince asked the swallow to stay with him forever. Although the swallow originally planned to fly to Egypt, he loved the prince too much to leave. He told the prince stories of what he had seen in Egypt to pass the time. The prince then asked the swallow to take the golden leaves that covered him and give them to the poor. The swallow did this until the statue looked dull and gray. As winter came, the swallow grew colder and weaker, but he refused to leave the prince. One day, knowing he was going to die, the swallow kissed the prince goodbye and fell dead at his feet. At that moment, a strange sound broke inside the statue as the prince's lead heart snapped in two. The townspeople decided to pull down the statue since it was ugly without its gold and jewels. The melted statue's lead heart, which did not melt in the furnace, was discarded onto a dust heap where the dead swallow lay. God then asked one of his angels to bring him the two most precious things in the city. The angel brought the lead heart and the dead bird, and God said, "You have rightly chosen, for in my garden of paradise, the little bird shall sing forevermore. And in my city of gold, the happy prince shall praise me."